Good evening and welcome. We begin the week on the special at 10 with a story that sounds quite unbelievable. India's finest business school has decided it's going to try the impossible, train someone to get into the dirty business of politics. IIM Bangalore faculty and students will join us on the show along with some seasoned politicians. So IIM Bangalore, one of the premier business schools, is going to have a new batch of graduates out soon. These graduates who've paid just under 5 lakh rupees per month are ready to take the political world by storm.
Nagashri is a Zilla Panchayat member from Chamarajnagar in Karnataka. Not the normal profile of a student you'd expect to find in the corridors of Bangalore's Indian Institute of Management. But she wants to improve her skills and knowledge in her chosen field of politics. The answer? This course, specially designed for women already in or who are interested in politics.
How the women can be empowered by how can they learn things like winning strategies of the elections and personal skills like communication skills, body language, strategic thinking, and how to be a leader and what are the qualities of the leader.
During the 2.5-month course, the participants interacted with politicians like Sushma Swaraj and Sheila Dikshit, visited Parliament, went on a trip to Singapore to study systems there, and of course attended lectures by IIM professors.
If women's reservation actually goes through, then there will be a demand for thousands of women MLA candidates, hundreds of women MP candidates, and I figured, well, let's be ahead of the market demand, you might say, and really work with people who can get in there once reservation kicks in. And if that happens, I want to see 100 of my students in Parliament. I think the women's reservation at the Panchayati Raj level has really done a great job in giving a lot of women an opportunity to test their leadership skills. And now there are only men holding them back.
While 20 of the 26 women in the course have already contested elections, some are from different fields and have felt a change in their own mindset.
When we were interacting directly with the political representatives, the sitting ones, and also when we were having the sessions on policy planning, and also we had some personal effectiveness, the one which we are having today as well. I would say that all were equally important for me, all have equally affected me. I never thought that we should be going there and doing something. But then IIL has brought this change in me that today I do not see politics or the political system as something a distant thing from me. I see that it's very near, and now interacting, going back home, interacting to the corporators or the MPs, the MLAs, I don't see that as something very far off from me.
At 4.75 lakhs, all inclusive, this course is expensive, and most of the women have received financial backing.
By IIM standards, this is a deep discounted program. Okay, we earn a lot more by doing executive education for the corporations, but we've also raised a lot of scholarships. UN Women has funded us substantially. UN Development Program has funded us substantially. The government of Karnataka has underwritten some of the costs of 4 participants, and Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw stepped forward and helped out a little bit as well.
Members of this first batch say they have grown in confidence and are more hopeful of their own political future.
My political ambition is to be in the state politics, especially I want to be an MLA of my place and I want to serve as a minister in future.
Most of us would agree that many of our politicians could do with some good political education. And that's a need that this course at the Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore is trying to meet, in this case for women politicians. It's the first course of its kind, it certainly won't be the last. With TM Kumar, Maya Sharma in Bangalore for NDTV.
So can one get a crash course in politics? That's what we're asking our guests this evening. Let me introduce them. Professor Rajiv Gowda, you met him. He's from IIM Bangalore, who's thought of this course. We also have Arunima Sinha, one of the students of this course. We have Jaya Jaitley, veteran politician, joining us from the capital. Ragini Nayak, she's from the Students Project. She also works with Youth Congress and teaches in Delhi University as well. And sociologist Professor Anand Kumar of JNU. First, Professor Rajiv Gowda, you say that IIM did this because they wanted to beat the curve. But, as a political reporter in Parliament, it really looks distant, the 33% women's reservation. So what happens if it's not brought in? And all these students you have there, who will recruit them?
Well, the majority of our students have already broken through thanks to reservations at the Zilla Parishad and at the Panchayati Raj level, and they're getting ready to build their careers and move forward. So whether reservations come or not, they will be prepared and they'll take on the establishment. Essentially what we're doing here is shaking up the system, empowering those who've taken the first step, and providing opportunities for newer entrants also to engage with politics. So whether reservations come or not, it doesn't matter. We have people ready to go. And by the way, I do think that reservations will come through by the end of this term.
Okay, you're more optimistic than a lot of people on the ground over here because there's so much opposition to it. But Professor Gowda, before I move to Arunima, who's sitting there with you, who's one of your students, also, you know, what is the kind of all other IIM graduates? They get recruited really fast. Is there any kind of promise that you give the students of politics as well? What is the thing that you're promising them? What is the kind of placement that you're promising them?
No, well, first actually, this is this is more like an executive education program for people who are already working in the field. This is, you know, this is not like a MBA program with the promise of a placement at the end of it. And so anyway, our people have had a chance to gain in strength. We've equipped them with all kinds of cutting edge ideas and knowledge, and they've had a chance to meet with political leaders from different parties. So, you know, and with shows like yours, they will come to public notice and they'll have a chance to sort of further their own careers. No promises. Can we make any promises about, you know, getting tickets or winning elections in the challenging world of Indian politics? No, we can't. So we're not trying to do that either.
Okay, Arunima, we were doing some background, you know, research on you, and I believe that your first brush with politics was actually with this whole anti-corruption movement. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm an art of living teacher and I stay in Srinagar, and I'm into social politics, I would say. I teach people how to live healthy lives, how to live stress-free lives, and how to become a contributing factor towards society building.
Okay, and you know, you said you're from Srinagar, so why this course? Did you think about going to your local Congress office, BJP office, you know, the local national, if you're from Srinagar, National Conference office, PDP office, and offer your work to them, your social work to them? Did you ever think of that option?
See, I stay in Srinagar, but I'm not a resident of J&K. So I can't contest from Jammu and Kashmir, but definitely I'll go back and empower the ladies there. And if ever I think about contesting elections, I would go back to my home state, that's the state of Bihar, and definitely I would contest. Sooner or later you're going to see me there.
Okay, so you're saying that if you already know that in order to do well, it has to be with some place that you have a connect with, right? You're saying that it's not possible for you to work under Srinagar?
I can't contest from Jammu and Kashmir because of Article 370.
Okay, and what is, why this option, how did you think about coming to IIM? Why not go to the parties directly and try from there, grassroots level?
See, IIM is one of the most premier institutes, and anything coming from IIM would be the best. And it is indeed the best. I have gone through the course now. Today is the last day, and I'm extremely thankful to IIM and Professor Rajiv Gowda for initiating such a course.
So what's your expectation?
I'd also like to...
No, okay, so I just want to ask Arunima, what's your expectation when, you know, political parties see your degree? Do you think they'll snap you up and give you a chance in the next elections?
It's not just about the degree. It's about the confidence that that the course has instilled in me.
Okay.
And yes, I'm ready to take the challenge.
I'd like to add that it's not just IIM that's involved in this program. We have a partner in Delhi, an organization called Center for Social Research that's been a pioneer. Dr. Anjana Kumari is the leader, and it's been a pioneer in the whole gender empowerment and women, you know, fighting for women's reservations over the years. So we've partnered together with an organization that has long and deep history in this domain. So we've been, and they anchored the Delhi leg of this.
Okay, it's a really interesting and novel idea. But I just want to ask Jaya Jaitley, you know, as someone who's seen the rough and tumble of real politics, what do you make of all this?
Well, I'm afraid I'm going to be, with all respect, completely of a different view. because I think I'm hearing all the kinds of words that go into corporate or management life, and that's not what politics is about at all. But before I give a critique of this, I would like to critique the political parties, because there was a time, even 20 years ago, where they used to have training camps on leadership, on how to struggle, on various issues. In fact, every Friday the Socialist Party used to get together and discuss all the most important issues of the week. Now parties are not having that anymore. They have their meetings in 5-star hotels in all kinds of splendor, and everyone who is genuinely a person who should be an activist should be empowered enough to be able to empower others.
So
all those are just hanging about trying to look for favors.
People, new talent, those meetings used to like attract new talent.
Of course, that this new talent was drawn in. They would be part of it, they would grow. There was the Yuva Sabhas, there was everything, and all these Aung San Suu Kyis and Martin Luther King and Nelson and Mandela and Gandhi did not come through leadership camps or leadership training courses in IIM for politics. Politics comes from an inner feeling to serve people, to think of others before you think of yourself, not to have to find 5 lakhs to be able to learn to do that. It has to come from within. And I think the whole idea is something which is just taking real politics out of politics and making it into some kind of a business where you're going to have to find that money that you put in earlier, and you talk the corporate language, which is not what the man on the street understands. I don't believe this is the way, and I would, Ranjana is a very dear friend of mine, but Ranjana and myself have been highly political in politics, in parties, and we both have had to step back, because with all our high education and our degrees and our confidence and our articulate abilities, the situation in political parties is such that as good as a woman is, she is shunned. And that is something we have to fight by being within a party and not by trying to learn at IIMs.
And do you think Professor Gowda was very certain? No, I'll let you counter that in just a bit, Professor Gowda. I'll let you counter that in just a bit. I just want to also get Ragini in, but before I move on to Ragini, Ms. Jaitley, if you could also very quickly also say that, do you think the women's reservation bill is coming in anytime soon, which Professor Gowda seems very certain about?
Well, I'm glad he's certain. We have been fighting for it after, in fact, not even feeling we needed it. And the fact is, even without the bill, how many of us are actually staying within political parties and fighting it out? Ranjana has left a political party. I have stepped back from it because I don't want to get into electoral politics where you have to fight against the muckiest kind of situations that you can get. And who's stopping that? And by getting an IIM certificate or a degree, that is not going to stop. You have to be in it. You have to see what you're dealing with. You have to have the courage to fight it from within. And for that you need a whole lot of women who join political parties irrespective of any kind of reservation. I think reservation is really a sad and last resort because all of us have failed ourselves.
Okay, Ragini, we've heard two extreme points of view over there. As someone who's relatively new in the political field, you've been around actually now 10 years, so it's not that new. Yeah, since DU. And you're now in the Youth Congress, but again, obviously you feel some limitation, which is why you're also teaching. You have a full-time Delhi University job and you do this part and you work with Youth Congress. Do you think this kind of cause would have given you a step up?
Let me begin by making two initial observations and substantiating it. First and foremost, without seeming to play the devil's advocate, I think women in India for a very long time now have been unjustly denied political space. But thanks to the 33% reservation that most of the people have been talking about, we've seen a tidal wave of women coming into politics, being a part of it at that particular level.
The promise of it brings in a lot of women. No, or at the panchayat level.
Just let me complete. What I'm trying to say is, but at the higher level, what we think is, what we see is that such representation is thinning down.
Okay.
In such a situation, any training module, be it from a party or an institution or a course, which aims at equipping women with adequate skills, knowledge, expertise at governance, public policy or electoral strategy, so on and so forth, should be welcomed. But having said that, I would also like to qualify my statement by zeroing down on the essential question that such courses also pose.
Yes.
The question being that how can the art of politics the tussle of electoral strategies, the management of resources, the management of internal conflicts and factionalism can ever be mastered except by doing it. Okay, so the question becomes that how can a crash course ever or a pep talk on, say, leadership skills or electoral efficiency empower a woman to fight it out with a male counterpart who's rooted at the ground level and has been
So
working
you're saying
in
the only way is on the job?
On the job. And also there's another point to
may
it.
I say something also?
If I get down to the specifics of this particular course, the very cost of it, which is 4.75 lakhs for 10 weeks, despite of all the benefits it entails, the parliament visit, Singapore visit, so on and so forth, seems to give it an elitist flavor as well.
Yes.
That is why I think that because of
Can
the
I say
duration
something?
and also
Yes,
because,
Ms. Jaitley, we'll just come
because
back
of the cost it entails, I feel that its approach has become a little bit constricted and restricted.
Okay, Professor Gowda, would you like to respond to that? And then Ms. Jaitley also wants to say something.
Yeah, there are lots of things to respond to. First, I wish both Jaya Jaitley and Ragini Naik had come and spent time with our team of people here. 20 of our participants are elected members of various bodies. And we have people from 8 states and 7 different political parties. The rest of them are social activists who are also in the fray on the ground. So these are not people who are parachuting in, trying to create a new political career for themselves. These are people who are already in the fray, fighting the good fight and trying to earn more knowledge, gain more strength in their fight. And I'm really quite shocked to hear outstanding leaders basically poo-poohing such an effort at empowering young women and people who are already in the political space. I myself have grown up in a family of freedom fighters. I've been in the political space, and I bring to this program, along with Ranjana Kumari and CSR, a kind of well-rounded agenda that really takes people and gives them a chance to go out there and break the shackles that exist in the system. And I wish we had more support from people out there in Delhi who are living in their own wonderful
No, Professor Gowda, they just expressed their opinion. We'll just get them to respond to what you've said in just a bit. But if I can just go across to Professor Anand Kumar, sociologist. Professor Anand Kumar, is there any kind of formula? You know, we are having really 2 different sets of opinion over here. Some say that you can only learn on the job. Professor Gowda, of course, says that their kind of course can, you know, benefit. What do you think? Is there some formula of how to make a politician?
You see, with the coming of democracy, there is a process called political socialization for citizenship building. And then the second step is nation building. And in between the connect is leadership building. All educational institutions, right from primary school to IIM and Jawaharlal Nehru University and all other places, are supposed to be places of not only giving knowledge about career, but also about society and polity, for carrying on the task of democracy building. And that way, this is a very important initiative which should be emulated by other universities so that the cost factor can be diluted. Secondly, it is also very true that most of the time you do not get entry into the political process unless you are coming from their various wings: student wing, peasant wing, intellectual wing, labor wing, women wing. And these wings have become paralyzed. Now the entry into politics is only through personal connections at the higher level. Getting ticket not only for women but also for men has become a matter of money power, personal connection, nepotism.
Will this change that, sir?
Yeah.
Will this change this? Do you think that
yes, I think
parties
it is a good
will
start,
now come to IIM for recruitment?
No, it is not coming for recruitment. These women were already there in the field. They needed some more capacity building opportunity, and they got the opportunity because unless you know the new politics of 21st century, why most of the people, including Jaya Jaitley, are failing? Because there is a new idiom. Money power, muscle power, media power, they are making a lot of difference. Old mass politics is dead. There is a new class politics, and for that women must get ready. And if we have a future for democracy, which we do have, gender dimension has to be further strengthened. Women have to be given their due as soon as possible.
Jaya Jaitley, would you like to respond to that? That perhaps you represent an old school.
2 points.
Yes.
I don't believe that old school is ever an old school if you are a committed political activist, and it's really what you do than in which era you live in. It's also how you think and how you grow with the times, and all of us are still very active and very politically thinking people. But I will say that if this is a century of money and muscle power, I don't see that I want to be part of any training of how to become a part of that. I have to be a part of what fights that. And I don't see how training in an elitist institution helps to fight it if you don't have it within you already. But I would like to ask one question which I found about something a bit strange. Why do people go to be trained or go for a tour to Singapore? Singapore is highly undemocratic. It pretends to be a democracy. They even, you can't do anything over there. If there's dissent, you're shut up. It's a country which doesn't, they have a crow shooting squad because they don't think crows are pretty birds. If that kind of atmosphere, what are we going to learn there as men or women? So it's very strange that they should choose Singapore. I would love to be part of what Professor Gowda is doing. I didn't even know about it. If all of us are called and become a part of training the trainers, we would like to share our very sad experiences, our successful experiences, our inspirational experiences, and I would love to be part of it. But it should not be with this kind of a fee and a corporate mentality and a business model, because if that's the present world, at least as a very young-hearted democratic socialist, I don't accept that kind of world.
Okay, Professor Gowda, this thing of being an elite thing, because you have such a high fees that you're turning away a lot of people who actually we see in our political sphere, people from rural, rural areas and all, who won't have that, but they have lots of political promise. How is your course accessible to them?
See, IIMs have traditionally never turned away anyone who is in financial need. I have raised 75-80 lakhs from UN Women, from UN Development Program, from the Karnataka government and from Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw. Now, let me just point out, Madam, Ms. Jaitley especially, these are people with tremendous commitment, and these are not people who are corporate in whatever negative sense of the term. That label you are pinning on us. We are all people interested in going out there and shaking up the system and bringing about change. As I mentioned to you, I have grown up in a family of freedom fighters. We do not subscribe to the money muscle politics. We're interested in breaking that. Why do we go to Singapore? We've gone to Singapore partly to understand how an undemocratic system works, to see how development and democracy conflict with one another and what the trade-offs are. It's also a much more affordable foreign trip compared to, say, going to some other western part of the world, which would jack up the prices and cause all of you to gasp in horror. And essentially, so we're trying to create, I would urge you to go to womenleadership.in, our website, which discusses the multi-dimensional aspects of our program. We focus on perspective. We bring in perspective on gender and ideology. We focus on policy, the numerous domains that people need to be knowledgeable about. We focus on politics, including how do you go about organizing agitations and filing PILs and using modern technology for like the recent movements have shown us. And we also work on modern techniques as well. So these are all, I mean, and then there's personal development,
What about the thing that both of them have pointed out? Sorry, you wanted to ask.
So Netra, I'm extremely sorry if I seem to be giving an impression that I want the I will or such courses to be shut down, or I'm discouraging students from being a part of it. That was not my intention. That's why I began by saying that any such step should be a welcome step. But having said that, I also want to emphasize that our body politic, the Indian body politic, needs large-scale reforms in order to make women an effective part of it.
Okay.
And such courses should be seen as a small part of it.
Yeah.
They should not be seen as absolute substitutions or replacements of what happens at the grassroots politics. Also, there's another thing on which I agree with Rajiv ji. What he's saying is that essentially 20 out of the 26 participants of this course have already been active in politics. So they're not saying as if they through a classroom degree they want to create politicians. It's a kind of an enhancement.
But who are the people, as someone in Youth Congress, who are the kind of people that get picked up most, especially because Youth Congress has done a lot of drives of late. Do you think there are people with,
that's another point which I wanted to come to. See, most of the parties in our country don't have internal democracy, but NSUI and Youth Congress are an exception, because since Rahul Gandhi ji has taken over, we have started a process of internal democracy through elections, along with a concretized module of imparting training,
Yes.
especially ideological and functional components. So the combination of both these things not only ensures that in each constituency we will be able to find out the best candidate who
Yeah.
can be fielded up for elections, but also to something which Jaya Jetli ji was pointing out,
Yeah.
was the fact that we can also make the path of advancement in politics more clear.
Okay.
And such a combination of training and internal democracy should be replicated in other political parties, so as to enable women also to climb up the ladder of politics.
Okay, Professor Anand Kumar, there obviously seems to be, you know, a huge division on this. You think that it's okay for people, this may be a way to go, but how do you think they need to connect or make this course much more kind of practical, or to imbibe a lot more practical spirit in it? Do you think there should be perhaps much more coordination with political parties? Can that
I think,
work?
there are three dimensions to make it more inclusive, and it is not responsibility of just IIM Bangalore and CSR in a country of 210 million people. Many other organizations and universities and colleges must come forward to meet the challenge of leadership deficit, to get our democracy going in leaps and bounds. So there are three dimensions to make it more inclusive. One, of course, is the issue of rural versus urban, which can be connected through Indian languages courses, which can be easily done in these times of multimedia and multilingual facilities. Second is obviously the issue of connecting with the poorer sections, lower middle class men and women, which probably they have tried with the UN and others, but maybe Government of India, Election Commission may come forward, political parties may come forward, they may run their own schools.
Yes.
It is done all over the world. If you want to have democracy growing in the country, do it at your home also. Train them by creating your own institutions, your own training centers. And thirdly, of course, there is this dimension of making the problem of panchayat to parliament more accessible, more manageable. And all these three dimensions are, of course, the challenges for the future steps of such programs.
And Jaya Jetli, from panchayats to parliament, how can that be bridged?
Well, I think all those who are learning to stand on their own feet in the panchayat will move to the assemblies and to parliament. It's just that in parties, men have to make room. They have to realize that the merit of women is as good as the merit of men, or as bad. So they have to move aside, and that unless they will move aside graciously, they will get pushed out at one time. But through courageous, tough women, and not necessarily through certified degrees or even trainings in political parties which are incapable of training a lot of people these days. If the Congress party and other parties are changing in order to make it more democratic, that's a good thing, and I think perhaps that's the way to go. More democracy within parties, irrespective of gender.
And you know, just before I go to Arunima, who's been listening, I think that a lot of what she's heard from you and Ragini might have scared her, is that wouldn't you accept, though, even though you've been critical of this, Ms. Jetli, wouldn't you accept that some parties are changing? For instance, Akhilesh Yadav, recently after he became Chief Minister, even during his entire election campaign as well, was having application process for recruitment to his party. Rahul Gandhi has claimed, he's also claimed that of having membership drive. So do you think perhaps the old order is trying to change, even though it hasn't changed perhaps?
Well, in one way it may show that it's trying, but the old order, if you count state governments and national parties or any party, everything is on a dynastical mode. So how much you can talk about new recruit and democracy when every single party, including Akhilesh Yadav, is a product of a dynastic situation? I don't think that these two can coexist and coincide. So we've got to get rid of one to make the other more successful.
Arunima, how scared are you feeling after hearing all this?
No, I'm not scared at all. I would just request all these illustrious people there that please don't pour cold water on our enthusiasm. let us go out and be a part of that big change
I
that
will
all
love
of us
to
are
come and
dreaming.
teach you. Let me come and teach you.
Sure, ma'am, sure.
Professor Gowda, last words from you.
Well, this is just the first step. We do need to, as Professor Anand Kumar said, bring out the program in multiple languages, use technology to reach out to large numbers of political activists across the country. Every one of us needs to, empower ourselves with more knowledge,
Do
with
we
more
see
understanding.
any of your students getting a ticket for the Karnataka elections this year?
I expect to see some of them in the next cabinet. So
In the
we'll be
next
there.
cabinet. Well, we'll definitely have you back on the show for that, to discuss that. Professor Rajiv Gowda, Ragini Nayak, Arunima Sinha, Professor Anand Kumar and Jaya Jaitley, thank you very much for joining us.